Hey, Paul.
Like, and you what? How's it going?
Good week?
Busy week again.
Yeah, we keep saying that. It's becoming a bit of a cliche here.
Yeah, it just feels like the closer we get towards the end of the year, the busier things seem to feel, you know?
Well, things are ramping up.
I suppose it's synonymous with what's going on in the industry. I mean, I think people are saying that all over the place, you know? And it certainly is. It's just life is way more
Life
busy.
is busier
hectic.
in 2022 than it has been for the last 2 years. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
But we're not complaining.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's all good.
Aviation-wise, a couple of crashes this week.
Yeah, look, gravity's doing its thing, eh? Light aircraft are getting thrown out of the sky left, right, and centre. It has not been a great week for general aviation in South Africa by any means.
Not at all. Any crash is sad, but that Pilatus Porter out of Rand the other day, 5 deceased there. A pilot critically injured. It's a terrible one.
No, it's just sad.
Eyewitness, it looks like the eyewitness said that looks like the wings actually just fell off.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure how accurate that is, but that's what they said it looked like.
By the sounds of it, yeah, that's what they said. And look, I'm sure there'll be a thorough investigation, but yeah, that's pretty hectic. I mean, you just get airborne, wing comes off, and yeah, shame. You don't stand a chance, man.
Yeah, that's a shocker. Otherwise, there was one in Wunderboom as well.
Yes, yeah. Wunderboom, student and instructor, engine failure after takeoff by the sounds of it.
Yeah, 300 or
And
so feet.
Yeah.
And, not a good one.
No, but luckily, not major injuries on that.
No, just a broken arm or two.
Yeah, so strongs to them.
Strongs to them. And otherwise, locally here, things are still looking strong. The airlines posting lots on social media, SAFAir advertising about new routes. I see, what are they doing? Joburg Bloem.
Yeah, Joburg Bloem.
Flights commencing 16 September, twice weekly, Fridays and Sundays. Ticket sales already open.
And
A Saks Stronghold route, that one.
yeah, that was one of our more popular routes. Used to be to Bloem like 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
You seen FlySafair also have launched this WhatsApp business account, which allows passengers to search for their booking and check in for their flight directly through WhatsApp.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's quite
So you just send through your reference number?
Yeah, so you send a message to the FlySafair business account. There's a number that's provided on their website, and you say hi, and it brings up a menu with different options, and you can select like option 2 for check-in. You follow the prompts, receive a boarding pass via the messaging app as well, obviously via WhatsApp, and then review your booking, select options. So I think that's quite a cool way of like sorting out your booking.
Quite
all through
innovative.
WhatsApp. Yeah.
It's quite convenient. I noticed is that similar to like Discovery, I think, have something like that.
That's right, yeah.
You can do it all through there. Quite neat.
It is. I think it also caters to like the older, not so tech savvy generation that they've just learned how to use WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So it works.
Yeah,
So
nice thing there.
pretty cool initiative, I guess.
They're always on the game when it comes to things like that, so I'm sure they'll keep it up. Airlink as well, first ever direct service between Cape Town and Maputo.
Yeah. Saks tried that for a while. We had a route. I think I remember doing that a couple of times in the CRJ.
But it was Joburg, though.
No, we did Cape Town, Maputo.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there was a short period there, obviously.
How long did that last?
About 2 weeks.
Yep. Mozambique, quite an important region for Airlink. Where else? Maputo, Bara, they go. Vilanculos, Pemba.
All over, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a strong destination for Airlink.
It's actually an underutilized destination. Like, even I'm thinking of ourselves. I mean, we were thinking about where we could go away. It's so cool in Mozambique.
Moz is the best.
It's the bomb.
Yeah.
In addition to Maputo, obviously Airlink, they already operate regional flights connecting Cape Town with Windhoek, Walvis, Harare, Vic Falls, and Maun. So yeah, Airlink on another planet when it comes to where you can go.
Yeah, there's also news that they've cemented a partnership with Federal Airlines.
Yes,
So
what
obviously
is that all
to-
about?
So I think it's got more to do with like linking the lodges in the Lowveld. Airlink had a couple of caravans down there for the last couple of years. I think they were trying to, increase the connectivity on their Skukuza and Kruger routes, to the lodges. But it's quite difficult for an airline to manage that and a full scale sort of airline. So by the sounds of it, they've partnered with Fede and see where that goes.
Yeah, that looks good. I mean, Fede as well. This new, they bought a few new aircraft. Those 6 new Cessna. Yeah, they caravans basically. Yeah. So, right. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm sure the guys wouldn't mind us chatting about it. Federal, that part of the Salenta umbrella.
Yes,
All right.
as far as I understand, they fit under there.
The Hearst brothers all looking after that side of
somewhere.
things. That's cool because you know how they run a proper show. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So
another strong airline in South Africa. We can't complain, but there's so many new airlines starting up. So I mean, we're spoiled for choice these days.
Yeah. What are the other two called?
I don't know. Let's move on.
Something international.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy now. All right. I found this article quite nice. Well, interesting. The importance of American tourism in South Africa. So United States, so many Americans coming into South Africa.
Yeah.
And it's, prompted our tourism sector here, at least the people governing it, to jump on an aircraft and go down to the States to, prop up a bit more interest in the South African tourism. And they doing a little visit there of Los Angeles, Las Vegas, New York to build on that momentum with trade, media, and stakeholders in this important market. You got to throw in Vegas in that one.
Yeah, what would a trip be
you can't go to the
States
without Vegas. So yeah,
what happens in Vegas?
yes. So the South African tourism people, I hope you're enjoying your time in Vegas, and I hope you come back with a few more US dollars.
At least bring some business back.
Yeah, bring something back.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, there's a African Aviation Conference and Tower Awards. I don't know if it's not a new thing, been around for 4 years apparently. Is it just because we're a little bit more involved in the media industry now? I notice more of these things, but I don't know, sort of post-COVID, it seems to be, there's much more interest in these like award ceremonies that happen. So this is all to do with the theme for the year is sustainability of African aviation. Nice and original there, but
yeah. Look, I suppose it's a hot topic, eh? I mean, sustainability. What are they talking about? Like,
yeah, what are they talking about? Anyway, if you want to go and see what they're talking about, that's the 20th to the 22nd of October at Protea Wanderers.
Okay.
That's where it'll be. It's
Very
organized by Aviation, Travel, and the tourism sector, of course. That's it. Otherwise, locally, Ryan, what we can say here at the Sim Center, things are pumping. I took a picture day before yesterday.
I saw you posted on LinkedIn.
All the Sims moving at the same time.
Yeah.
And kind of thought, geez, man, if you go back a few years and I would have said to myself mid 2020 that in 2 years' time all these Sims would be moving in full motion, I would have said, no way, it's going to take longer than that.
You made an interesting comment there on your post because you said you
I
have
always
the
make
privilege.
interesting comments on my posts.
Yes, Brian, you do. Sorry. Let me correct myself.
If you want to see those posts.
You're full of shit. Anyway, I was saying the comment was something like along the lines of you have the privilege of having a front row seat to witnessing the recovery, and although that's true. I mean, we do see it here. It's so damn evident how the recovery is like accelerating, and you talk to more and more operators, and the skill shortage, the crew shortage, the general staff shortage. It's quite
evident.
a thing,
It is.
and airlines are like battling with trying to operate efficiently with
with what they have.
with what they have. Yeah, so it's quite something.
I suppose that leads into our sort of story of the week. I suppose we'll get to a bit later on, but
That would be me, the king of segues.
yeah. Yeah, but it's a certain factor because the airlines are stuck with what they have. They can't, you can only employ so fast, and you got to train the people up.
Do you also get the sense that airlines are finding it harder and harder to entice people
To come.
to get back?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Some of these adverts that almost sound ridiculously too good to be true.
These sign-on bonuses and things like that.
Man, it's like really.
Well, they're getting it right in the States with these bonuses and these, pay by hour things. But in South Africa, I get the sense that we're a little bit behind the drag curve. Well, not get the sense. I know we are behind the drag curve because there is not a South African pilot anymore, without the SAA, the original SAA. The original SAA was a career airline. You got in there, you stayed there, got your pension. That was game over.
Yeah.
But that doesn't exist anymore.
No.
So you've got these airlines that are granted, they're all well-run, fantastic airlines, but the pay is not something that you're going to
run towards.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a standard pre-COVID pilot pay, but how long can that go on for? How long can we, I think
that kind of money doesn't buy loyalty. Like the minute the guys spy a better opportunity, they're gapping it.
And there are now better, well, let's put better in inverted commas. We don't know what's better, but if you're bombing around, you're flying 100 or so hours a month, every month, and you're earning a particular amount, your lifestyle is not going to be fantastic because that's going to be flying at least 3 of the 4 weekends of the month. It's going to be early mornings and late nights. We all know what it's like. It's very easy to forget how difficult it is to do that consistently. It's not easy.
No,
I've heard stories here, local guys that I would never mention any names, of course, because it's not a nice thing. But guys are falling asleep driving their cars back to Pretoria after a flight because they're flipping tired.
Yeah,
we got stories later. It's the same thing. It's happening all over the world.
Yeah,
but South African pay for pilots is still on the lower end of the scale.
Exactly.
And
so
at what point are the airlines going to get burnt if they're not being burnt already?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's quite a thing for the airlines to have to think about, and I suppose be aware of in the future because it's going to catch up.
It's going to catch up. I mean, you can. Let's have a look at it now. Seeing that we're talking about it, I mean, let's take it to United. Pilots at United, partially owned subsidiary Commute Air. So they're getting a big pay raise. New hire first officers will now make $72 an hour. Captains $100 an hour in their first year. The carriers operating 145s, Embraer 145. So in addition to that pay hike, first officers get a $25,000 sign-on bonus. Captains $50,000 new hire sign-on bonus. It's a decent attraction, and it's for an Embraer 145. So you think, well, that's your ERJs, CRJs sort of size, and that's what they're earning overseas. There's hundreds of pilots now out of a job. The guys that were at ExpressJet. ExpressJet filed for bankruptcy. That AHA brand. It had something to do with aircraft and hotels. That's where the AHA came from.
Okay.
There was there's meant to be this joint venture with certain hotels, but obviously the hotels are doing so well these days that they don't need an airline to be in partnership with. So that whole thing fell apart. But interestingly enough, on this one, every single one of those pilots has been offered a job at Envoy Air with no interview. No interview. You just go. You basically send a mail. Yeah, I'm in, and they take you. So
that's going to lead to something else. And I think we'll come across that topic a little bit later. But that's going to open up a whole new can of worms.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the situation in the States is so, I don't say dire because they pumping, but what they're doing is they are seeing a lot of value in how big the pilot pool is. So the whole pilot pool is like the airlines are viewing it like an asset. So hey, we might not be making any money, but we got these 1,000 or so pilots that might be worth a bit of money to another airline, and that's what's happening. They're looking at these pilot pools, and the demand is too big to take one pilot, interview one, and get 3, 4, 5, 10 in a week. They need 1,000 pilots in a week, otherwise operations sort of cease. So this is happening there, and there's big money involved.
Yeah.
Hey,
jeez, crazy actually.
Yeah,
it is crazy.
It's great. I mean, there was I'm sure some of our listeners took part the other night. There was Spirit. They were hosting a webinar, I believe, about the visas.
Yes,
South Africans. So it's not that E2. You know more about the visa thing than me, but it's a slightly different visa to what the original plan was. EB2 or whatever it is. But this is slightly different, and again, it's about where we're going to find these pilots.
Yeah.
And South Africa, of course, is such a good market for them to tap into.
Yeah. Well, we've always said, I mean, the minute that opens up, man, this place isn't going to have pilots.
Can we talk about quickly something that hasn't come up on the show before? We are at Samero training environment.
Yeah.
How good are the South African licensed pilots?
Funny you mention that, because I think I was going along that thread as well. True story, man. You know, that's why the Middle East is always valued, and there's such a big attraction for South African pilots, because I think they realize the Burkis are well trained. We're well disciplined. We're hard workers, and I make good pilots.
And I'm not saying it out of just sort of hearsay. If you've got pilots from all over the world, and you put them in the simulator, 9 times out of 10, you'll say that's a South African pilot.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they're sharp.
And I think that's by virtue of the quality of training that the pilots get here in South Africa.
Yeah.
You know, from the ab initio flight schools right the way up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, SACS, for one thing, didn't do a lot of things right, but their training was like world class. It was great.
It was top notch. And I can't believe it's any different at the likes of Airlink or Safair. I mean,
all of it.
Salenta, all their training is super sharp. It's something to actually be proud of. And I think at times we're inclined to think, oh, look at this, shitty license that I hold, because you're limited as to what you can do. And there's a lot of talk, go get your EASA, go do FAA. But the reality is that the license that you're holding, it might not hold its weight and value, but it certainly holds its weight. And if you're holding that license, you've gone through you've got one of those green ATPs, you've gone through a decent test, you've answered the odd AWOPS question, and you got to know your stuff, is what I'm saying.
You've been riveted by the odd South African DFE, which is no easy exercise any day of the week. But I mean, I think, I don't know, the one thing that holds us back, and it's probably the one drawback of our license, is the fact that other countries, when they need to vet our license, I think they have a lot of difficulty in getting that right with our CIA. It's a bit of a process. It takes too long. They don't get the information that they need, and that, I believe, is one of the drawbacks.
Yeah, I can believe that. I had a phone call from someone the other day asking if we could verify a logbook and then give them some sort of certificate, which of course we can't. Only the CIA could do that. But in fairness, how's our CIA going to do that?
Exactly.
So they simply don't do it.
Yeah.
And and that was a guy off to Japan, and Japan is a difficult place to sort your license out by the sounds of it. How long does it take there for the guys that went across to Air Japan?
I think your training period is something like 8 months at least.
It's significant.
Yeah, and it's pretty hardcore. Look, just the application process, we know.
Oh, jeez. You and I gave up with that application process.
It's like halfway through this application, we're like, it's going to be easier to start a podcast.
That's exactly what happened. To fill people in, what happened there, obviously when shit hit the fan early 2020, you go into autopilot mode and it's like, okay, I'm not flying anymore, so I've got to go somewhere else and fly. And at that stage, Japan was still taking SAFAs.
Yeah.
So we thought, this is a good idea up until page 4 of the application where Parok and I, this isn't going to work. But it's, so I think anyone that's holding a South African license, maybe you actually do deserve a bit of a pat on the back because it's actually, it's worth something.
It is. It certainly is. So, yeah.
Kudos. Right. So carrying on with the whole pay thing. It's, of course, a topic everywhere around the world. Lufthansa, they've just rejected another offer. The union, I say, has rejected another offer. So pilots voted overwhelmingly in favor of industrial action. 97.6% of VC, that's the union, members support that strike. So they're demanding a 5.5% increase for Lufthansa's pilots, followed by a further automatic rise in line with inflation thereafter. So that doesn't sound too bad. But what I liked is this, and I wish this had come through sooner here in South Africa. The union also wants pay structures for all staff members at the Lufthansa Group airlines. This includes Eurowings, whose own pilots are in the midst of a strike ballot due to end on August the 31st. So that would have been a little bit like, in reading that, it would it just, and it always used to drive me mad. You had SAPA looking after South African Airways, and they were strong.
Yes.
So why don't they look after the Mango and Saks and all the rest?
Yeah.
Why not pool your resources there and say, no, this is a unified thing here. I'm not saying pay the same, but at least pay the same in terms of what gauge of aircraft you're flying.
Yeah.
So look, if SAA are earning or were earning back in the day, say 90% of the wide body gauge of what a wide body driver would have earned in the States, then let the Oaks at Saks earn 90% of what a narrow body RJ driver would have earned at Commute Air, as an example.
Yes.
That's my thinking, and that's what they're doing here. So I hope that works out because I think it'll be a good thing.
Yeah, look.
We slammed unions a little bit. Sorry, jump on you, Ryan. Like we said, and I think it's because
we were burnt.
We were burnt.
I mean, our union didn't. I don't know if they didn't stand a chance or whatever the case may be, but every other airline that went down in South Africa after us, their unions managed to sort out pretty sweet deals for them. So we were the only ones. Well, first of all, went down first and got nothing for it.
Yeah. Just to be a bit bitter about it.
I can't say on the podcast what I really want to
say. Tell us what you really think. But in fairness, I mean, we actually did have a well-run union with, good people in the right places. I mean, anyone that knows Phil Meredith, who was our chairman, will know that he's not the easiest guy in the world to push over. He's certainly no pushover.
Of course.
But the reality is, you could have had Lufthansa's union looking after us. I don't think it would have worked out anyway. But at least with what they're trying to do here is sort of pool the resources. But it also plays back, how valuable would a union be for some of our local airlines here at the moment? I mean, there's a lot of rumblings about, there's always going to be unhappiness when the pilots and the cabin crew and everyone else isn't earning what they believe their skill set should allow them to earn.
Yeah.
And I suppose a union is collectively trying to sort that out.
I don't think it's always necessarily, attached to earnings. I think there's other things at play, like, roster rules agreements and that kind of thing, seniority. Also, like if you're operating an airline with mixed fleet and you want to pay a certain fleet an X amount, the other fleet a slightly lower amount because they may be a slightly smaller aircraft. That's a bit unfair, So unions, I think.
Well, it's unfair to the guy that's on the smaller aircraft, but the business owner will say, well, he has to run a profitable airline, and this is how they're going to do it. So it's not, and I'm not so sure which side of the fence I fit on this one, because, you want your license, your skill set to be able to earn you money. but for how long? I mean, it's not like the local airlines here all of a sudden have cut the. I believe everyone's back to sort of pre-COVID.
I believe so. Yeah.
So what are we complaining about?
But there's other things. I think some airlines, the rostering arrangements are quite difficult.
But is that not because you were spoilt at SACS with your?
No, I don't think that's got anything to do. I think it's like, there are things that need to be sorted out. There are things that should be properly structured.
Yeah.
Again, that's what I'm trying to say is are the airlines doing enough to make it attractive enough for guys to want to go back?
And I suppose the answer to the question is, for as long as there are pilots here available that are taking the jobs, the answer is yes, because the pilots are coming until the day they don't.
It becomes about sustainability. How long? So it's just like we can carry on this hamster wheel all flipping day, man.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I'm not trying to. I kind of fall on your side of what you're saying, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah, no, you got to. I mean, it's we have said, I've said it before on the podcast. Airlines do have to make sure they can keep going. So it's a tricky one. I mean, I'm just I'm glad I'm not a bean counter at an airline right now.
So one of the airlines that was advertising here the other day, Wizz Air, that was for their.
I believe that's for the Middle Eastern branch that they're starting up.
Abu Dhabi branch.
Yes.
They were there at Airways Park. Always find that funny. How does SAA allow another airline to come in and host? I know they've done it before, but it just seems strange. But Wizz Air, I mean, I didn't realize this as well. They massive base in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Part of this plan. And they're even looking at setting up an AOC there. So the development comes after Wizz signed a preliminary agreement for Saudi Arabian authorities in May to investigate the widening of airline services to the kingdom under the state's Vision 2020 program. So Wizz certainly one where no doubt local pilots here are going to go and test it out. And if it's good, they're going to tell their mates, and it's going to...
The pilots are funny like that as well. We all suffer from a bit of FOMO.
Yep.
One mate hooks it across to Emirates.
Yep.
Says, "Yes, boys, this is the business.
This is the bomb.
Flying a 777. This thing has got like 4.5 hours on it, and next minute, all 20 of his mates go. I think it's just it's always been like that. Be interesting to see what happens with this Wizz Air. I mean, look, if not for anything else, it's going to give the Oaks an opportunity to bounce an A320 rating, because there's not many A320 operators here in Africa.
Yeah, and this isn't type rated
to grab that rating.
Yeah, you can go there without the rating.
Yeah,
it's not a rating only situation.
Yeah,
that's sort of falling away now. Hey?
Yeah, look,
even locally,
for a short while, it was like, you have to have a 737 or A320, but now, as the Oaks are getting swallowed up, I believe that requirement will
start to drop. I found this one just to carry on with our news on Russia. So Aeroflot, they are ordering 300 Russian-made aircraft, Ryan, as part of a shift in fleet strategy from Western-built jets to indigenous aircraft. Airline chief Sergei Alek something. The immediate priority is to secure some 323 aircraft comprising 73 Sukhoi superjets. We might be seeing some of those in South Africa. No, not really. 100 MC-21 narrow bodies and 40 Tupolev Tu-214s.
I wonder what's forced them to make such a drastic sort of
shift away from the...
Why the change in strategy and,
basically, obviously, Western parts can't go there, and so that's the plan. There was a meeting with Putin. So this oak, Sergei, and Putin had a chat.
Is it?
And this is the plan, so...
We need more aeroplane. We better make on aeroplane. We can't get aeroplane nowhere else.
But in addition to that, 3,500 pilots need to be hired. 8 full flight simulators as well for this plan to work.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's the plan.
Shuffling. Yeah.
Yes. I want to chat a little bit about the Nigerian situation.
Yeah, what about that?
It's a bit difficult there at the moment, from what I'm reading for Nigerians, certainly, because airlines are just pulling out left, right, and center. They've got their own airlines. The airlines are all operating. But Delta, they've suspended their New York to Lagos flight indefinitely. Done. 4th of October, I think's the last one. Emirates, they not going there anymore. Suspended everything. That's because of that blocked revenue. One hopes that Emirates will go back there. It's still a hub in Africa, and a strong Nigeria surely is good for the African continent.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of business that comes out of it.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of the traveling public there is big. So it just sort of surprises me that the airlines are. Look, I understand the Emirates situation, and maybe the other airlines are a bit scared of being burnt. But I hope that sorts itself out, because it's an important hub.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a major economy there. I didn't realize this, Ryan. Shifting a little bit back to Europe. Sorry, a little bit all over the place today, but who cares? RyanAir is adding 21 new routes with its winter schedule launch. 21 new, that's a lot.
Especially for like a winter, phase.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't, you would expect the European summer period to be like a, hive of activity and lots of business, but in winter.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, 21 new routes from 21 airports, sun and city break destinations across its network. A total of 440 routes. It always amazes me, these numbers. Will be operated from RyanAir's UK airports, including its 13 bases. It also expects to see its full-year traffic grow from an initial target of 165 million passengers. Those are similar figures, what we?
Yeah.
To over 166.5 million in 2022. It's amazing. Leadership anticipates that the company would soon overtake EasyJet. I always thought RyanAir was the biggest. Soon overtake EasyJet as the largest UK airline with the help of its growth initiatives, and also took time to take a dig at the likes of British Airways, which has over 120,000 flights scheduled over the winter season amid the plethora of flights that have been cancelled. Yeah, they're never short of having a bit of a dig at someone there.
No.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bunch of other oaks, I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'd be quite good on a podcast, that guy, actually.
What's his name? O'Leary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've spoken about Turkish cargo. They ranked first in Europe amongst the cargo carriers there. I think fourth in the world, but first in Europe. Again, the numbers. Turkish cargo, 340 destinations. 100 direct cargo destinations with a fleet of 383 aircraft. 20 of those are dedicated freighters. But how massive is that?
It's crazy, yeah.
It's nuts. It always sort of overshadows us here in South Africa when you look at those numbers.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's crazy. China Airlines, they've picked up 787s for their medium-haul fleet, $4.6 billion deal. Also, I must admit, I didn't realize they were a Taiwanese operator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saw that.
Yeah, so they're, who else is there? Eva Air, hey? Also 787s.
Oh, yeah, they've got a whole mix. 787s, 777s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we jump into our question or story of the week?
I think so.
Hey? So the one, I'll lead it off, Ryan. You can jump in here when you want. There was a commander's discretion article that came out in Romania. So a bit of a connection with Romania and us, because we had the Easy Pilot guys on
Exactly.
not so long ago. And this commander's discretion article was based on, and we'll throw it out there to anyone that maybe has an opinion on this. Anyone that's operated for any company has probably at some point been quite close to going over the FDP allowance. So, for the non-drivers out there, you got this FDP law that looks after you. It says you can't go and fly 30 hours in a row. You have to have a certain amount of time off between flights. If you arrive late, then you can only sign on the next morning at a certain time, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But there's always this one little clause there called pilot's discretion. It's basically the discretion of the pilot in command that he may not break the FDP law, because it's there. He may, in a particular circumstance, ignore FDP to do an extra sector or get the aircraft back to base, or for whatever reason. And that law, as far as I know, has been around for forever.
There's limits on that, though.
Yeah, there are limits.
You can't, just go ad infinitum.
No, you can't.
It's within a certain amount of reason.
Well, is it?
Yes.
Well, that's what this discussion must be about.
Okay.
Because obviously, if there's a reason for it, there's a huge amount of things that could happen. I mean, there could be another aircraft technical somewhere else, and you get a call, listen, you need to now pick up the slack, do the extra flight, whatever it might be. Maybe you pick up a delay of yourself on the other end, and you're getting tight with that FDP, you can extend. And obviously, there's a time you can't go and extend for 10 hours, but certainly for 2 hours and even up to 3 hours locally here, if I'm not mistaken. So captain's discretion, the article goes on to say, should not be a requirement or obligation, nor should it be routinely relied on by operations. Intimidation, reprimand, or urging to re-sign could all be considered undue duress, which undermines the principles. So as flight crew members, they have personally seen this push-on culture firsthand. The term used by colleagues to describe the act of putting the financial interests of the airline first was pro-company, be pro-company. That's done by extending duties, working from off days, not calling in fatigued, and not calling in sick. FPU Romania has received reports of cabin crew members reprimanded and shamed by managers in different European airlines for calling in sick or not extending duties. So I was very clever when I pulled this article, because it's a Romanian article, and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone here locally. But at SACS we got called plenty of times. You must go and do an extra leg. Does put pressure on the captain, because he's now got to go fly the leg, and you don't always necessarily know what's going on in that captain's life. I know when you sign on for duty, you are signing on for your duration of your sign-on period, start to finish. Yeah. So even though you might be rostered for a Bloemfontein and back, nice quick day, ultimately the company can use you for the full time of that roster period. But when it comes to using the full time of your FDP and beyond, and consistently, it's going to lead to a lot of shit happening in the flight deck, isn't it?
Well, I think we're seeing it globally.
Yeah.
Pilots are fighting with each other,
falling asleep.
No, it's hectic, man. I've got a lot of mates that I speak to that are actively flying, and the guys are working hard, and you can see it's taking their toll. The guys they're frustrated, they're tired. The knock-on effect, their families are unhappy.
Well, let's talk about, because we didn't do a news-based show last week, so we didn't talk about the Ethiopian one.
No.
So that was a 737, I believe, 37,000 feet. Pilots fell asleep on an RNAV approach, I believe.
I think it was something along those lines. I didn't really say that in the article. All I know is they were out of Khartoum, back to Addis. And they only woke up when the autopilot disengaged as they were basically passing over the...
So the one that I picked up, it looked like they were on an RNAV.
Okay.
And I stand corrected on this, and if I am, well, correct me. But they were on an RNAV. They, flew the transition point onto final approach, but everything was at 37,000 feet. When they went across the missed approach point,
autopilot disengaged.
Yeah, and maybe 737 drivers can tell us if that's what happens. I don't know. I can't see why the autopilot would disengage unless discontinuity in the FMS kicks out the autopilot. I don't know.
Yeah,
but so the autopilot disengaged sound woke the guys up, and that was that. My father-in-law said, "Hey, have you heard the story? It's crazy." I was like, "Yeah, but how easy can that happen?"
Oh,
I mean, it's
not the first time it's happened recently. There was, I can't remember airline or where it was, but it was in Europe as well somewhere. Not so long ago, where pilots were caught napping.
RTA.
That's right. That was that one. Yeah.
Yeah, the captain got fired.
Was that the outcome?
Yeah.
You know, it's but this is as a result of continuous, you know, extensions. Those pressures are going to catch up on the crew, and this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, so that's straight out fatigue. If you're tired, and you have a nice cup of tea there, maybe the sun's just shining through there in the morning. It's not difficult to fall asleep.
No.
So it's almost hard to point a finger at those guys, but they wouldn't fall asleep if they weren't tired. And if you have a look, they probably were flying quite hard.
Yeah.
Then you got Air France the other day, bust up in the flight deck, captain and FO having a bit of a brawl.
Yeah, it took the cabin crew to come and intervene and break the thing up. And,
Yeah. And in the States.
Yeah, that, what was the saying? The FO.
Eat a bag of dicks.
How career limiting is that?
Yeah.
Gee whiz. And apparently he's like a brand new little chap getting checked out. So there was a check captain on the jump seat.
Yeah.
And a senior captain, he's training with him, and he just tunes in to go eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah. Geez, I'd love to have seen the look on the captain's face there.
How do you deal with that?
But there's like a lot of this sort of, even just today, you've spoken about the pay, the unions fighting, the guys flying hard, fighting in the flight deck. All these things are relatively uncommon in with all the work and effort that goes into CRM courses and all this stuff. I mean,
you
don't see it a lot.
It's not supposed to happen in a professional aviation environment. But I mean, I don't know. It's just so weird. 2.5 years ago, talking about guys, what they would do to fly again, and
Yeah.
And here we are now. It's crazy.
It is weird.
It is my brain around it sometimes.
But if you are listening and you want to have a comment on that, captain's discretion, then shoot us a message there. Our Discord probably the best place to do that.
Yeah,
you can sign up with that Discord in the show notes there. Let us know what you think, and I think it's a valid thing. It's certainly not pointing any fingers at any of the local airlines here, but an interesting topic nonetheless, especially when you are pushed to the limit, you are tired, and you have been doing that consistently now for over a year. It's not there will be consequences on it. So sustainability in aviation in Africa, I also think that the pilots and the cabin crew needs to be looked after.
Absolutely. A lot of sorry, just changing lanes here, but some articles about airplanes losing pieces.
I saw that.
An Alaska 737 engine cowling detached during landing the other day.
Oh.
And the United Airlines Boeing 767 loses parts of its fuselage panel. I mean,
how do you lose part of your fuselage panel?
Yeah.
Did you that reverse or that engine nacelle one was quite dramatic. It was flapping around there.
It was hectic. But now again, I suppose it follows along the same thread of the fatigue is probably not just on the pilots and the cabin crew. It's on the maintenance side as well. The technicians, the guys are getting pushed to the limits to keep these airplanes flying.
You make a good point.
So are these as a result of tired mechanics as well?
You make a good point. And in fact, it's been brought up to us a couple of times. I particularly me, I tend to focus quite straight on what the pilot angle. Yeah. But obviously, it's everyone. It's the baggage handlers. I mean, a load master giving a wrong figure.
Yeah.
There's so many elements that you rely on accurate information. And when that is compromised because someone is tired, it can have a detrimental effect on the entire operation.
Exactly. I was chatting to some students the other day as well, and I said to them, guys, you must also, we're talking about monitoring your descent profile. And although you might be getting radar vectored and stuff, it's not a bad idea to always have your radar chart out and making sure that the ATC are, at least descending you to the correct altitude.
Yes.
And the reason that crossed my mind was I think ATCs are under pressure as well.
Yep.
And they're human. They are prone to mistakes. And so the overall pressures on pilots and the industry as a whole, because of fatigue and the pressure we put under now, is quite something. So we've all actually got to be extra careful.
The CIA is under pressure.
Yeah.
They're in the same boat.
Yeah.
Also short.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so the oversight and all that stuff. It's a good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was a worthwhile thing to bring up now. And basically it comes from us having a lot of contact with pilots here at the Sim Center, chatting to them and hearing their views on what's going on, and a lot of them expressing their dissatisfaction at how tired and fatigued and all the rest, and looking elsewhere in the world to go and apply their trade. And it'll be a very sad thing, because there's going to be a lack of expertise here in South Africa very, very shortly. And it's not going to be rectified overnight. It'll take years to get that back. And there'll be a whole sort of, not group's not the right word, but sort of pilots in that 5,000 to 10,000 sort of hour range that they're going to be few and far between in this country.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be gone.
We can't do without the experience. The airlines certainly can't. They
can't.
need the experience. I mean, you know, with what's happening is these very big cockpit gradients, I think, are coming back into it now, where you've got highly experienced captains.
Too old to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And
you know, like a whole whack of very new guys, low hours, that are coming straight out of flight school, taking advantage of the opportunities that are becoming available to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, for a long time, I think SA has been spoiled by a fair level of experience.
Yes.
And yeah, it's all going in the other direction.
Yeah.
now.
What, 17, 20 odd years SAA first officer could spend there before being promoted to command. 10, 12 years at SACS, a little bit quicker at Mango and Link, but those are long periods of times. You build up the hours and the experience. Now it's not there. They're either becoming captains quickly or they're ducking, and as you say, got this big flight deck gradient.
Yeah. So
yep. Let us know what you think.
Quite a big change in dynamics, but yeah, very cool conversation nonetheless.
I think so. Time for an advisory.
I'm ready.
You've got one.
Yes.
You go with yours first.
Very simple. Mine is not like anything, you know, along the lines of being technology-based or app-based or whatever. It's basically just, I suppose, one of those advisories where you need to do a bit of an introspection, you know, and it falls along the lines of don't be a doers. There's quite a few of them out there at the moment, and guys are making stupid decisions.
Yeah.
And I can't pinpoint if it's, you know, a personality flaw or whatever, but that's my advisory.
Yeah. Don't be a dick. I like it. I've got another one that's also not tech-based this week. And this is maybe one for, and I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people already, and hasn't happened to me before, but sort of caught me by surprise, and I think it's worth people knowing. So Ryan and I were sitting in the office the other day.
Geez, how was that?
And, you know, Ryan's sitting 2 meters away from me. We're actually doing a bit of prep for the podcast. And my phone rings, a local number, and I look at it, and it's got their Ryan Parrock as the name on the call. So obviously I don't have the guy's number in my phone. So originally the number pops up, but then it says Ryan Parrock. So I said, but why are you phoning me? He says, no, check my phone. I haven't phoned you. So anyway, phone rings again. Don't answer it. Then I get a WhatsApp. The WhatsApp says, hey, pal, how are you doing? All right, the same way that, so someone's obviously maybe heard us on the podcast.
Maybe.
Yeah. And if you are listening, fuck you. And the oak says, can I borrow, would you mind giving me 3,000 Rand? I'm a bit short this month. Like, thanks, pal, again. And it's from Ryan Parrock. But I'm sitting 2 meters away from Ryan Parrock. So my advisory is, be careful out there. There are so many people are so short on money, they will literally do anything to get a few thousand Rand, including impersonating maybe a friend, a family member. And don't assume if you get a message from someone that sounds a little bit off or looks a little bit off. Do a bit of research. Pick up the phone that person directly and say, hey, did you just do this? Or because
that's why I was so glad that happened with me sitting right in front of you. Because, I mean, like you say, some people will be a bit more vulnerable and do that.
But it was crazy. I mean,
truth is, if I'm going to ask you for money, I'm going to ask you for a lot more than 3,000.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality is, it can happen to people. I'm sure it happens a lot, and I'm sure they catch a lot of the older people that way as well. I mean, imagine someone whose daughter's overseas or something, and you get a message late at night, "Hi mom, I'm stuck. Can you send me 3,000 rand?" Okay, and okay, I'll send it to your account. No, send it to this account or this number. Just be careful. That's my advisory there, because something's fishy. Today's episode is dedicated to Thulani Masemula. Thulani was a cabin crew member at SAX with us. He was there for as long as I was there.
Yeah.
And he was one of the top guys there. You made the comment yesterday, Ryan, that you always got a cabin secure within 30 seconds of pulling out the bay, and he was just one of those guys. He always had a massive smile on his face, a lot of energy. He unfortunately was taken from us too soon the other night, and all our thoughts go out to his family and everyone for that loss.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad. I was really shaken when I heard that news, because Thulani was such a great guy to fly with at SAX. I mean, always the same. He had a great sense of humor, super efficient, and all-round great guy. And it's a huge loss, man. For aviation as a whole, and strongs to his family and his friends there. It's just really, really sad.
Yeah, a lovely guy, and a sad way to end today's show. But it was nice to do a news-based show with you again, Paul.
Yeah, I enjoyed the chat, man. It was great fun, and look forward to the next one.
We will be here.
See you
Have
next
a
week.
lovely weekend, everyone, and goodbye for now.
Ciao.
Remain at frequency 28 right, echo cleared for takeoff. 28 right, echo cleared for takeoff, runway heading, range with limit 36. Yeah, 204, 28 right, echo line up and wait. 28 right, echo line up and wait, now 204. 4103, contact you guys at departure. Good morning. Skyline 553, function left heading 250, I'll have another turn. Left heading 250, skies 553, uniform. Tower envoy 3494, we're going to need a couple minutes before we take off to troubleshoot something. Runway 3494.